Okay, and then I'm going to turn the time over to AJ Lamb, who is going to be our MC for tonight, and he will go over all how we're going to run the forum tonight, and then we'll get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy, so very much. I really appreciate Tammy and all her hard work. She's our amazing director at the Chamber of Commerce. She doesn't get enough appreciation, so thank her, guys. And I don't think you guys get enough appreciation out there. Coming out to these chamber events is very appreciated by me, all the chamber boards, and every one of the chamber members that strive to have people like you out here doing your civic duty, learning about your candidates, and being a positive impact on our community. So I greatly appreciate that. I do want to thank you. I do want to let you guys know that if you guys want to continue to support the chamber, the best way to do that is to come to all of our amazing events. We have our Water Lantern Festival coming up August 22nd. And we would love to have you there, as well as next Saturday, come enjoy some brews with us at Brewfest. We'd love to see all your wonderful faces there, enjoying Evanston and the spirit of Evanston as well. So, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we go down the road this evening, I'm going to give all of our candidates a 1-minute opening statement. Once you are done with your opening statement, you may open question number 1 and begin writing down some answers to that or formulating your answer to it. After that, we will do a 2 minutes to answer the first question. Once you are completed with that first question and you have said it and sat down, you may open question number 2. Hopefully that makes sense for you all, and I greatly appreciate your time. So we will now begin with our opening statements from the candidates. Remember, you have 1 minute, and we'll be starting with Mr. Jesse Lind.
I'll go ahead and stand up. My name is Jesse Lind. I'm running for mayor. I'm a conservative businessman that's worked in the oil and gas industry in this area for 25 years. I moved to Wyoming in 1992, and then I moved to Evanston in 1997. Graduated from Evanston High School, number 2 in my class. I played basketball and golf while I was in Evanston high school. I received my bachelor's degree in finance in 2025 from Westminster College. I moved back to Evanston, started my career in the oil and gas, and started my own business in 2014. My wife is Jennifer Lind. I have 4 kids, Braxton, Riker, Madison, and Hendricks. I'm currently on the city council representing Ward 2. I wanted to try and touch base, if I have enough time, on 3 of the things I think are most important as far as our Evanston moving forward. There are 3 key things. First, we need to clean up this town so it can once again be a place that we all are proud to live in.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, we have John Du Bois.
Thank you very much to the chamber and to the school district for providing this venue. My name is John Du Bois. A little bit about myself. I've been married 46 years. Me and Rose have 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. I'm a veteran of the Navy. I was an enlisted missile system technician, and I was an air defense officer in the Army with the rank of major. Some of my biggest accomplishments in my work history is I was director of logistics in Baghdad, Iraq for 14 months. I had a $500 million budget that I had to deal with, 700 employees, most of which were Iraqis. I'm currently I'm the general manager for the Southern Tire Mart at Pilot, a truck stop. I've been there for 8 years out of retirement. I've talked to a lot of people in this town. Our biggest things that my priorities are protecting the citizens of this, the residents of Evanston. Highest priority, protecting them. And then infrastructure cleanup.
Thank you so much.
And code enforcement.
We appreciate it. Up next, we have Mr. Evans.
Hi, I'm Evan. I have lived in Evanston since 1982. I've raised 6 kids here. All of them are adults now. I got 3 that live here, 3 that have moved. I've been married to my beautiful wife now for 29 years, going on 30. I've been on the city council, what some people would say way too long, but I think it's been long enough that I've learned a lot about how the city works. I've sat next to 3 different mayors, and I've learned a lot, and I want to take all that knowledge and try to make this community a better place than what I found it. I'm excited. We could have up to 4 new city council members, so I'm hoping that I can work well with all those if I'm elected. If I'm not elected, I'm still there for 2 more years on my city council for Ward 3.
Thank you, Evan. Next, we have Ms. Joy Bell.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting this event. This is an ongoing, very good election year event. I'm a native of Evanston, Wyoming, and I returned to the community 32 years ago. I've been active in community efforts since returning. I've been the executive director of a nonprofit agency, worked on many boards of directors, wrote and managed a number of grants for both public and private entities, and was a founding member of the Community Youth Coalition. I've been elected to be the council person and for Ward 3 from 2001 to 2009, and I was the mayor from 2011 to 2015. I currently own and operate a company called Compassionate Journey, and we have 14 residents that we supply services for on a daily basis. Throughout my career, I have worked to build a leadership acumen that has proven effective in our community. I lead with compassion, respect, and a commitment to a collaborative environment.
Up next, we have Mr. Joshua Resnick.
Also like to thank the Chamber, appreciate it. My name is Josh Rasnick, for those that don't know me. I'm running for Evanston City Council Ward 1 seat. My wife Kelly works at Walmart, and we were blessed with a beautiful daughter, Juliana. She's a sophomore at Evanston High School. This was not a decision by me, it was a family decision. I've got a great support staff with those 2, and they're always there. I'm a lifelong resident of Evanston. My family's been here for generations. Graduated with a bachelor's of organizational leadership from UW. I've worked for the Sheriff's Office for 21 years. I'm currently the Vice Chair of the Planning and Zoning, and I've served on multiple other boards. Currently, I'm working with the city on the 2050 Comprehensive Plan, part of the Land Use Group, and I think this experience has taught me enough that I believe it's okay that I run and be on the Evanston City Council.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Up next, we have Mike Swan.
Hello, my name is Mike Swanner. I am a nuclear chemical engineer with experience working with highly regulated government environment, including design and operation of nuclear reactors. I also have some experience in agriculture, operation of a ranch in Mountain View for over 25 years. I serve as president of the Railroad Restoration of RINC. It's 501c3, and it's a nonprofit helping to restore the 4420 steam locomotive that's in the roundhouse and relocate the tower on the Evanston rail yards. Kathy and I supports the local artisans by developing a venue to showcase and sell their art. Perhaps it'll be finished by the time our license. But these experiences give me a broad skill set needed to effective governance. I understand the importance of maintaining a livable community while creating opportunities for growth.
Thank you, Mike. Up next, we have Charles Gilbert.
My name is Charles Gilbert III, and I'm originally from Kimmer, Wyoming, originally. And then I lived here in Evanston for 8 years, and I worked at Smith's, and my daughter just graduated this year as a senior, off to college. The only kid I have. And I'm supporting for the city, Ward 1, running for the city so we can have this public, normal life here, so we can have the city back to normal life. Thank you.
Up next, we have Virginia Blumel.
Hi, I'm Virginia Blumel Wilson. Most people know me as Ginger, and most of you won't recognize me without my bicycle helmet that I usually have on as I'm cruising through town. I moved from New Jersey when I was a sophomore in high school and was finished in high school in Eden, Utah, down at Weber High. Graduated from Weber State. Right after graduation, I went into respiratory therapy at Primary Children's, and then I taught at the Intermountain College of Court Reporting for their medical boards and licensing, and 39 years in Granite School District. I created 5 new classes because they kept telling me we need more medical-oriented and legal classes, and created some tech writing classes as well, not just creative writing. I hope to be able to help Evanston rise to the level that I remember it when I worked at Fondale Reservoir while I was in college. Thank you very much.
Up next, we have Mr. Ryan.
Well, thank you. Thanks Chamber for putting this on, and thank everybody for attending. My name is Ryan Berger. I've lived in Evanston for probably over 35 years. I was born in Wyoming, born in Jackson, Wyoming, and moved here in the early 80s, product of someone moving in from the boom. And I went to public schools here and graduated from Evanston and married my next door neighbor, and we went to the University of Wyoming, and we both got teaching degrees, and we're happy, and raised a family here, and reaped all the great benefits that Evanston has to offer. Currently, I serve on the LUCDA board. I'm a previous House representative at 49, and I now serve on also the Western Wyoming Disabled Hunters Board. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'd like to continue to serve.
Up next, we have Mr. David Welling.
First off, thanks for everybody coming out to this forum. Thanks to the Chamber. My name is David Welling. I was born and raised in Evanston, Wyoming. I'm the son of Don and Afton Welling. I'm married to Wendy, a beautiful wife. She is the daughter of Ray and Shirley Smith. We've lived here our entire life. We have 4 beautiful daughters and 4 great son-in-laws and 8 grandchildren. They're great, but not great. And 3 of my daughters live here in town and raising their family. In August 21, I retired after 29 years of law enforcement in the County Sheriff's Office. I was supervising the detention center and the staff there. And a lot of these guys that are running, you see, I hired or had some help in their career. I now work for the Department.
Thank you, David. Before we continue on, I want to let everyone know that unfortunately, Michael D. Welling from Ward 1 was not able to attend. So I wanted to give, he sent over a letter and I wanted to be able to recite it to you all today. So this comes from Michael Don Welling for Ward 1. My name is Michael Don Welling, and I would like to thank the Chamber for holding the forum and apologize for not being there. My dear wife had major surgery this week, and I felt as though I should be with her. I am running for Evanston City Council representing Ward 1. As someone who was born, raised, and spent their entire life right here in Evanston, my dedication to this community runs deep. This is the city that shaped who I am, where I was married from my high school sweetheart, and where I raised my 5 wonderful children. Through my life, I have been fortunate to work within this community across multiple industries, giving me a unique, well-rounded perspective on what it takes to help Evanston thrive. The private sector experience, local business insight, and investing in our youth. I am running for City Council because I believe Evanston deserves leadership that combines deep city community values with proven professional experience. And that was once again That was once again from Michael D. Welling of Ward 1. All right, we will begin with our first set of questions. Candidates, remember you have 2 minutes to answer the question, and once you answer question number 1, you may open your envelope for question number 2. We will start off with Mr. Jesse Lind. Jesse, why are you running for mayor of Evanston? And if elected, what do you believe is the city's greatest challenge, and how would you address that challenge?
First and foremost, I'm running because I've spent the last 4 years on the city council, and I've learned a lot, and I believe I am the most qualified person for the job running for mayor. I want to touch on the 3 things I was trying to touch on in the first minute. And it says, we need to clean up this town so it can once again be a place that we are proud to live in. When someone is from out of town travels to Evanston, I want them to remember us one of the most welcoming, beautiful, and well-maintained that they've ever visited. I think there's a lot of things we can do to clean this town up. That means we need to take care of, well, some of the eyesores that are a deterrent for people who want to visit or possibly invest in Evanston. The second thing I think we need to do is we need to take care of our current infrastructure. From our wastewater plant, to a water treatment plant, to our rec center. We've had too often handled infrastructure issues with temporary measures, rather than comprehensive long-term solutions. Now is the time to enhance our facilities so they can consistently serve our community for many years to come. The third thing I think we need to touch on is we need to prioritize our economic growth. The focus on bringing more stable jobs to Evanston. For too long, we've seen jobs leave our community, businesses close their doors, families relocate in search of other opportunities. Moving forward, our story needs to be one of investment, one of growth, one of renewed community pride. To implement these things, we need the right leadership. I believe I'm that person to lead Evanston back to prosperity.
John, would you like to?
No need to. Thank you very much. Again, my name is John Du Bois. My slogan, if you will, is the right choice, and I really believe that. It's not just a slogan. I've got a proven history of leadership in my entire career. I've been here for 19 years. The reason why I'm running is because the things that people have been talking about have not happened in this town. My intent as the mayor is to make those things happen. We've got the data center that's going to be built up here. We've got 3,400 employees that are going to be working up there. My main priority is the police department. My calculations show that we're going to need 5 more police officers. Where are we getting that money? I'm calculating about $4 or $5 million is going to be needed. Go after Mr. Thornton, who's building that over there, have him pony up the $5 million. The other thing is we've got the fire department. They need all of that equipment. I've got issues about it, but they need $13 million. Go after Mr. Thornton, have him pony up that $13 million so we don't have to do a 1% tax increase on our sales here in this town. The financials, the audit, it looks like it's been handled by the same people out of Casper. My intent is to put it out to bid, get a third-party auditor in here, get a different set of eyes on that audit. My vision, the vision, it's been taken off the website, but the vision was posted on the website in 1997 through 2010. What the heck was it doing on the city's website? It's 2026. So my plan is to get a vision that's realistic for 5 years as compared to the budget and make sure that those things can happen and it's not a wish list. Transparency of financials, post the financials every quarter, like a checkbook. Where are we at with the budget? Where our expenses, not just posted at the end of the year after the audit's been done. There's several other things that I have here I could talk about, but anyway, so that's it. John Du Bois is the right choice.
Up next, we have Mitchell Burns. Would you like me to read the question for you?
Maybe the audience would like to hear it.
Why are you running for mayor of Evanston? And if elected, what do you believe is the city's greatest challenge? and how would you address that challenge?
Okay. Why am I running for the mayor? Because I think I can do the job. I think I can do a great job of bringing people together. If you've been watching city council over the last 4 years, we haven't exactly gotten along. That's been a problem. And I want to be able to, we could have up to 4 new council members, up to. We're going to have at least 2. I want to bring everybody together so that we can once again function as a group. Not that we all need to agree, because we're not going to, but we do need to come together and try to at least communicate in a positive way. Biggest problems we have, we got more than one, but Mr. Du Bois touched on it. The influx of people coming in here is an exciting time. It's a little bit scary, but it's an exciting time. And I think if we plan for that in a positive way, it can be a positive for the community. Might be able to stiffen up our savings in our coffers a little bit to make sure that future generations have plenty of money in the city coffers that we can cover everything. And I've got to agree that the community, we've kind of lost control of our properties. And property rights is big in Wyoming, but I think a little bit of help can get a lot of these cleaned up, because right now there's a lot of in town that's giving us a black eye for the whole community. I try to take pride in my property, but a lot of people, especially absentee landowners, they don't seem to care. So we do have a lot of opportunities going on, but the first thing I'll do is try to bring the city council together, learn, bring them up to par as quick as I can, the newest ones. That's the way I see it anyway.
Ms. Joyville, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm fine, thank you. I think that people understand what we're talking about, why we want to do this. Anyway, there's no doubt. You asked me why I ran for this position, and it is just clearly that we have some very well-intentioned people that are trying to do some good things, but we can't seem to get along. When your city council and your governing body is above the fold in the Uinta County Herald on a fairly consistent basis for 12 to 18 months, we have a problem. And quite frankly, it doesn't need to be that way. We can talk all we want about what we want to do with the future, and I don't disagree with one thing anybody up here said that needs to be done in the city of Evanston, because I believe it all needs to be done. If we can't get along with the governing body, we are going nowhere. We have proven that. That's where we are. I never thought I'd run again for a position, especially this one, but I am absolutely heartbroken that that is the status of our city. We need to fix roads, we need to fix weeds, we need to address housing for seniors and first-time homeowners. We have no place for people that are seniors that are aging out of their homes to go. We have nowhere for first-time homebuyers. We don't have jobs. We don't have a workforce. We can't solve this by ourselves as 7 people, but we certainly can't solve it when we can't even get it to the floor and have people engaged actively in our community to do the things that we need to do. We need to reach back out, and we need to get our community back involved in what is going on here. It's always been that way here. We've always provided the answers from the group of the community. That's how we work. That's how we have absolutely survived. We need to get back to the grassroots.
Thank you. Mr. Resnick, are there areas where you believe the city could operate more efficiently? And how would you work with other city council members, city staff, county officials, and community organizations to make those areas operate more efficiently?
Well, I will work with all and have civil conversations about how things can operate more efficiently. I also question them and ask them what issues do they see and how can we fix it. Work together on the problem, and that's not only with people that work at the city, but also with the citizens and everybody else. I believe employees need to have the right tools to do their jobs, and communities, organizations are an important asset that can help with all of that. I have a good relationship with a lot of the directors and city staff. My current job at the sheriff's office as the emergency manager. I work with a lot of those people, and I also work with the county commissioners and a lot of the way the county does, and I really believe that the county and the city need to work together on a lot of things. I'm not saying that they don't now, but I think more roundtables, maybe quarterly or something, that involve more of the city council as well as mayors and everything else would be a very beneficial thing for Evanston. I also am able to talk and listen, most importantly listen to what other people have to say. We don't always have to agree on everything, but we can have civil conversations. And I've done that as a supervisor at the sheriff's office. You're going to have issues, it's going to happen, but you can also talk to each other and take care of the issues, the problems. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up too is I think that the city does need to plan ahead for maintaining their infrastructure that they already do or things that they build. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Josh. Mike, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. I think one of the things that I think is, one of the things I can work with is the budget. I think the city's revenue comes from several sources, including local sales and use taxes, state and county shared taxes, small portion from property taxes, discretionary taxes, often described as sin taxes, that would be your gambling and your tobacco tax, and the state aid and mineral royalties. These are the elements of our budget. And while we can't really do much with the state aid and the mineral royalties, they're largely tied to the statewide. But we should support, we would support our businesses and community organizations serving the community because they provide that city sales and use and property tax base. So it's important that we recognize that there is a need to appreciate and support the existing people who are actually paying the taxes. At the same time, we should encourage new and relocating businesses through a targeted controlled growth. That's exactly what we need, controlled growth. We have to make a decision, a plan, a city plan, that allows us to determine what our community is going to look like. Tourism is going to be big. We need to take advantage of it. We've always known it historically as the gateway to Wyoming, and I think we should take heart to that and develop that strategy. One thing we really need is local trades. Local trades are extremely important for this community, and one of the biggest contractors, or one of the biggest suppliers or supporters of local trade is the city itself. And we ought to make sure we get local contractors involved. If they don't meet the standard, then they actually should be able to be in a program that we can bring them to the state statutes, meeting the state statutes. So at any rate, we have a lot to do, but I think I can bring to the table some interesting budgetary issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Charles, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Are there areas where you believe the city could operate more efficiently? And how would you work with other city council members, city staff, county officials, and community organizations to make those areas operate more efficiently?
We just need to work on our local town with the people throughout our staff and our organization to work on our taxes, our property, on our finance for this town to be a normal life, regular time, all listen to what they need and follow the direction. And so we can have this community back to normal with the tourists come through our town, organizing everything we need to get her in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Virginia, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm okay,
Thank you,
thank you. I think one of the things that would be really, really valuable as someone who hasn't lived in Evanston very long is to have a list of the boards that exist here, who's in charge of them, who needs help for volunteering, because we're looking at a graying community. It would be really nice to get some young people in working on those boards as well. And I think that would be a really good thing to have going. Another thing that I think is really important, talking to some of my neighbors who work really hard, some of them 2 or 3 jobs between the moms and the dads, is that the meetings are held at a time when they cannot attend. They're just getting home from work, they're rushing home to feed kids. I'd like to see the meetings perhaps be starting at 7 p.m. if that's possible. I don't know if it would work, but they had expressed to me that they could attend meetings and have their voices heard. If it can't be changed, they intend to let me know what their voice would like to say at those meetings. Also an agenda that would be available to some of them don't even know what's happening until they read about it after the fact in the newspaper. So there seems to be confusing information of how you even find out about things. I can work very well with people. I've worked in large departments and small departments. I've been the only female in a department quite often in a science in a high school. And we've managed to figure out that we can save money. We don't need every single classroom to have 25 microscopes. We could rebuild some of them instead of surplusing them and save some money. So I'm willing to work with anybody. The more brains involved, I think the better outcome for the local citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure. Let's read it one more time.
Are there areas where you believe the city could operate more efficiently? And how would you work with other city council members, city staff, county officials, and community organizations to make those areas operate more efficiently?
So I'll have to agree with some things that have been said. When you talk about efficiency, all areas should be efficient. But where does efficiency begin and how do you improve efficiency? I believe it comes through communication and teamwork and leadership. I think it comes from listening, being able to listen to people, take public input, okay? And then it also takes a team to work together, sit down, hash out our common goals that we really want to do and really want to work on. Those are very, very important. Okay? One thing I found throughout my life is that teams work better together. We all work better. We might have conflicting interests, we might have different passions, but we all can sit down because we all live in Evanston and we all can make this work. We sit down, we write goals, we reach out across the aisle, we reach out to different groups like the county officials and boards. We serve on different boards and we talk, we communicate, and we work together. That's my biggest thing. No fighting, just continue. Yes, you have to have hard conversations, but that's great. That's why we serve. That's why we're here publicly. And those aren't easy, but we make a decision based on our community goals and our vision that we set forth at the beginning of the year. Thank you.
And David, would you like to repeat the question?
No, I think I've heard it enough. So areas that we can believe the city could operate more efficiently, of course, we can always be more efficient anywhere. I think the permitting process for building could be streamlined, and they're working on that as we speak. I know one thing we've done since I've been on the city council is we've created environmental services, which saved the general fund budget about $400,000 we're able to go take some of that money out of those enterprise funds to help pay for some of these things. How I work with other city members, staff, county officials, just open communication. And no one likes surprises. It seems like from the get-go, this last 4 years, there was always this, we didn't know what the surprise was going to be. And it wasn't communicated to the rest of the council members, and that was pretty frustrating on my part. That wasn't being communicated. It wasn't respectful communication. And I think that's the big key. As far as the city working with county officials, state officials, I think we work rather well. I've traveled around the state, we've attended city meetings, and they're amazed that our mayors and county commissioners get along, because that doesn't happen across the state. And we have some great representatives. Senator Schuler has always been a great asset to us and letting us know what's happening. And so we work with them, and I've been involved with many community organizations. Been on the youth board. I serve on the Hall of Fame committee. Yeah, it's nice, Bill. I'm serving on the fire district board, and there's a lot of issues there, especially the property tax cuts, and that's something we need to look at. But open communication, teamwork's a great thing too. So that's it.
Thank you. All right, just a friendly reminder, David, you may open your envelope. Everyone else may open their envelopes, or should have as they went down. We'll now ask the second question, and this one goes out to all of our candidates today. A city's economic growth relies on active business districts, yet several purchased commercial properties in Evanston sit vacant and unused. If elected, what specific strategies, policies, or incentives would you implement to discourage long-term vacancies and ensure existing buildings are actively utilized to support our local business growth and economy? Mr. Lane.
This goes right into what I was talking about as far as cleaning up our town. We have a lot of vacant buildings, boarded up buildings. We also have a vacant state hospital sitting up there doing nothing. First and foremost, the strategy would be if I become mayor, you'll get a phone call from me, because I want to understand what your challenges are, why that building is sitting vacant, what our plan is moving forward. The second thing we have is we have an urban renewal agency. Their job is to take care of this type of situation. They are actually weaponizing the situation where they can go in and make some things happen. I'm not a person who wants to force anybody to do anything. But we got to get the wheels turning. If you're just sitting on a property that's vacant, it's boarded up, if you're sitting on it for speculation, whatever your challenges might be, we've got to fix that. So first of all, it'll be the mayor, the city council, and the URA board that'll work together with whoever it is that owns that property to come up with some solutions to fix why we're sitting there vacant. Small towns need all of these small businesses, from our restaurants, to our coffee shops, to our bars, to our, anything local downtown. We have about half of our downtown buildings that are vacant and don't have a business in them. That's not a good thing. That doesn't grow your economy. I've spent all my time, a lot of time this summer, traveling around from Cody to Sheridan to Cheyenne to Gillette to Casper to Rock Springs. They have very vibrant downtowns. There's not many of these places that have vacant buildings like we do. And we need to find out why they're vacant, what the challenges are. We need to work through our URA board to get those fixed.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you. Again, me and Rose have been in this area for 19 years. Does anybody know what the population of this town has been over 20 years? Hasn't changed much. Been anywhere from 11,500 to 12,500. So let's just call it an average of 12,000. No growth has happened in this city for 20 years as I see it. So if you want the same thing you've seen in the last 20 years or even the last 8 years, then I'm not your man. But if you want to see actual growth from a true leader, then you need to vote for me. My promise has been to my wife, because she asked me, what the heck are you doing running for mayor? Because I'm already busy. I do a lot of volunteer work on Saturdays. I said, well, you know, I kind of felt the desire to do something more than what I've been doing on the school board for over 2 years. I think that I can do more for this community than I have done on the school board. So that's my passion. That's what I want to do. She asked me if I'm going to retire again. I told her if I get real busy on as a mayor, I'll retire, and then I'll put a lot of hours in this job, because it's a part-time job, but it's a full-time effort. Yes, the city needs to be. We have some reconciliation that we need to do amongst ourselves and this current city council. We've got properties in the city that have been that way for years. Nothing's happened to it. No code enforcement. I've got a guy working for me. Somebody did go to his house and made him clean it up. But what are we doing for the rest of the community? So we need to do better code enforcement to clean our city up. There's some beautiful areas, some beautiful homes here. Oh, I know that because I mow my lawn all the time. I want to keep up with those folks. That's what we need to do, and that's why I'm running for mayor, because I can make things happen.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Mr. Burks, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. Yeah, this is really actually a tough question because of the property rights. You can't force people to do something. You can step in and give them some help. If they don't have, especially if they're a vacant landowner that lives somewhere else, we can step in and, set them up with a scout group or something to go mow that lawn or the weeds, knock it down, make it look more valuable. But the biggest thing we can do as a city is help them promote that business, that property. We have this tendency to want to do everything that the city owns and promote that, but not help. We're not realtors, but we need to at least help some of these business owners promote that business and get it back on the market, or at least marketable. Some of them don't look like you'd want to hold them, but I think if you put forth the effort as far as the community, as far as the city hall, we could really give some incentives to help them out. Some places you can give them tax breaks and tax incentives and all this other stuff. We can't do that next. No matter how much you'd like to, you can't. You also can't force them to do something with their property if they don't want to do it. I drive around all the time, and I agree with Mr. Boyce. Some of those homes are beautiful that we have here in town, and some of them I probably wouldn't put my dogs in, and that's sad, but it's the truth. But we can reach out and help these people by helping them promote their properties and try to get them back on the market and try to get them to where others might see the value in them. Hopefully we can turn this town around, especially the entrances coming in and out of town. We need to beautify those.
Thank you, Mr. Burks. Ms. Bell.
Thank you. Tough question, lots of pieces to it. I agree that there are, and have been for years, well beyond 20 years, Mr. Du Bois, well beyond 20 years, we've had an issue with vacant lands that haven't been taken care of. And this question though asks for lots of different options. I think that I think that Jesse hit the nail on the head. I think that you have to go to those landowners and you have to say, what is it that keeps you from developing your land? And find out what it is, because there's going to be a number of different answers to that question. I would also offer that unless the urban renewal district has been expanded, the urban renewal board only has the capacity to condemn and consider blight within that district, and there's a perimeter around that district. It's great for the downtown area. It might include the east side. I don't know where that stood. I think though you're looking for long-term answers, you guys, because obviously we haven't been able figure it out. We haven't been able to open up a box to figure it out. I think we need to assess the current codes for planning and zoning, and I think that we need to make changes based on input in those arenas. I think that we need to deal with the not in my backyard groups that evolve in our town on a regular basis. It's like, it's okay, I don't want your property to look like that, but it's okay if mine does. And it stops a huge amount of development when everybody says, well, I really want that business to come here, but not in my backyard. I think we need to research successful towns that are our size, and I think that we need to be creative with incentives that pass the muster in the state statutes. I don't like to be told, no, there's creative ways to get around it. That's how the business council came about. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weston.
Well, there's a lot of good ideas up here, and I really think it's an issue as well. There are a lot of properties that are unused. Make a list, work together, go talk to the owners like it's already been said. I remember I grew up in Evanston, downtown. My grandparents had a business downtown when I was a kid. We had multiple businesses in Evanston. When I was a kid, they had the kids' closet, Knits and Gifts. And I grew up down there, and it was such a vibrant place to live. I remember going down to Cornets or going to the Strand. Half the time we didn't even pay to go to the movie, because we knew the right guy. And it was a great place to live. And I go downtown a lot now, and it's still a great town. I love Evanston. I truly love Evanston. And I get down there, and there's so many things that you could put into a lot of these places down there. One idea that I came up with is I've worked with grants a lot in the last few years, the sheriff's office and stuff. Why not, supply some info to other people that might want to start a business down there? They can get the grant, they can get the money, they can buy the building, they can get things going. I think would be a great way to start on some of that stuff. Also look at other communities, see how they deal with the vacant buildings. I know that there are some buildings in this town that they're owned by people that don't even live here, they live down in Utah. And I don't have the answer, but it's definitely something that needs to be looked into as to how can we go out to those people and say, hey, what are you going to do with this? You're just going to let this sit here and rot? It just makes our town look bad. So those are just some of the ideas I have.
Mr. Spell, would you like me to repeat the question? No, thank you.
This is really quite a hard question. We have two commercial buildings in downtown in the historic district, and we have seen a lot of our colleagues and friends actually leave that their particular buildings and have left them, and they're vacant at this time, and they have cited the fact of the difficulty of working with the city folks, the city officials. I think the fact is we understand there's property rights. We understand the fact that we want this historic district, for example, to do well. I think we need to design a program that has availability of some low interest loans that will be able to work with the city and with the property owners. I would like to see the upper floors being used for housing. Now, that would be nice to have an active downtown upper floors. We live on the upper floor of our building. And allow, I think, city staff to work with these private owners or these owners and to create some ideas and solutions for them. And also, too, it's not just the building, it's the surrounding area of the building. We want to make sure the streets, the trees, all that thing that brings people to see those. Empty building isn't anything. We can fill it up, but if it's a place that doesn't look good, people won't come anyway. So I think this is an opportunity. It's going to be a hard question, but I think we need to make sure that these buildings are not going to be vacant longer, and we create establish an environment that people want to have these buildings, want to be able to have businesses in them. Thank you.
No, I can answer it.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
So, On the property, I think that we need to have a citizens level line for people so they don't have 2 steps. So they can be a committee for a senior committee. So they won't have to fall or anything on the stairs. That's what I think they need around here in this town. And they need the property normal for the people to live in downtown so they can have a nice community area. And for the kids, I would let them have an outdoor pool, a skating ring, and some miniature golf around here for something to do in this town. And have everything we need for this town to normal so that people can have their life. Thank you.
Ms. Bluewell Wilson, would you like me to read the question?
No, thank you, I'm okay. There are a lot of talented people in this town. It's surprising, and they show up at the craft fairs, and they show up at the farmers markets selling things. I think one thing we could use at least one building for is let these people sell some of their wares as a collective in there. I have friends that have visited from Australia and back east and Utah as well, and they would love to see that sort of stuff. Some leatherwork goods for sale like we see at the farmers market, and the homemade things, the honey and the jams, and tourists are looking for that when they pop off the freeway to come in here. So a building that has a collective in there with perhaps the people that are selling their stuff volunteer to run that and collect the funds, I think would be a specific way we could use at least one building. And it may grow into something even bigger and requires more than one building. We need to have the town look really interesting and cleaned up in order for tourists to want to spend some time. It would be great to get some other restaurants to come in here as well. We have some pretty good Mexican choices, but there's some gaps in some of those other things. The vacant hospital has some paving there. Maybe when the weather is really bad, people pulling off the freeway could just stop and use that parking lot area. Of course, that would need some more policing, but it could also be a way for some of the, of course in bad weather, food trucks can't be pulling in there, but just even some overnight parking. I think the main solution to this will be that the people that live here want to make it better and have more people visit here and enjoy what we know Evanston to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bluewell. Mr. Berger, would you like me to read the question?
No. How do we support active business districts? Well, I think we need an active consumer group. You lead by example. That's one way. And something I pride myself on is making sure that I stay local. I love being local. I love using our local restaurants, our local events. One thing my wife and I pride ourselves on is that Christmases or birthdays or whatever event, we shop local. We love it. We love shopping local for Christmas. We don't want to put gas in our vehicles, but you have to communicate that. You have to do that and lead by example. That's one thing I want to do, is continue to show that we have local opportunities, and they're amazing. If elected, I would like to really look at the policies that are creating barriers for economic growth in this community. And what are those truly are those policies? I've heard a few. Why are these buildings empty? What is the barrier that's stopping them? Is it a certain policy in our council or our city? Is it a statute at the state level or even at the county level? Is there a policy? And how do we work together with our community leaders to get things fixed? And openly communicate and take input from our communities. We can't do it alone. We just can't do it us. We have to do it together. And we have to get involved. And we have to lead by example. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. And Mr. Webb.
Okay. So, city's economic growth relies on active business districts. That's absolutely true. Our downtown at one time was a thriving place, and we've had people come in and buy these buildings and leave them vacant. Some of these people, according to the statutes or the city ordinances, you're supposed to live upstairs and have retail in the basement. So there's people going downtown. We have people that aren't doing that. One of the things that Evanston does is they do a Jumpstart Evanston. They attract entrepreneurs, and that's what you want. Entrepreneurs coming to your town, especially these younger kids that have a great idea. If they participate in Jumpstart Evanston, they get a $10,000 startup fund to start their business. Some of them tried to rent businesses downtown, and they were told, no, you're not going to rent this place, I'm going to leave it vacant. And so that's kind of frustrating, and the city can't make them, the government can't make someone rent a building. The best thing for us is to get the government out of the way and let the public sector take over downtown. I mean, that's, I remember a couple years ago, we tried to increase the blighted area, and it was blocked by the rest of the city council. And that was very frustrating because we could have included down Bear Drive and some other places, and they didn't want it listed as blighted, but there were some funds available if we had done that. And they didn't understand that. Another thing I think we need to do, and Chief Randis is back there, is create a code enforcement officer to go around and start citing the property owners. Maybe they're squatters, but the property owner needs to take responsibility for that crappy hole they've created. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Thank you again, all candidates, for your answers to those two questions. We will now hear our candidates' closing statements. You have 1 minute for your closing statement. Mr. Lind?
One thing I would like to touch on before we close is our demographics that have changed significantly over the past several years. These trends bring in important challenges to Evanston's future. We have experienced a decline in the number of young families, while our median age and our population continues to increase. If we want Evanston to thrive for generations to come, we must prioritize attracting and retaining young families. A strong and expanding workforce is one of the most important factors businesses consider when they want to move to Evanston. As our workforce ages and our population growth slows, attracting new employers becomes more and more difficult. At the same time, we continue to strengthen our community by attracting and retaining a wide range of talented professionals, including entrepreneurs, engineers, business owners, attorneys, financial professionals, healthcare providers, educators. We need skilled tradespeople such as welders, plumbers, electricians, and essential craftsmen. Am I done? I wasn't done.
Thank you, Mr. Lind.
You gave the folks last week 2 minutes in a row, but you only gave us 1 minute. Yeah. So, again, sometimes folks look at me and they think I'm a mean person. I'm not. I'm a very nice person. I love to work with people. I'm in the customer service business. I work with folks, truck drivers that come in that live in Michigan. They live everywhere. And it's my responsibility to make sure that they're taken care of so that they can sustain their families by earning a living and getting back on the road. I've always been that way. I work hard at what I do. If you want to know more about what I'm going to go to my website, DuBois, 4Mayor, DuBoisForMayor.com. My son put that together for me. Thank you. It cost me $11. But again, protecting the residents of this city, that's my priority. My intent is to grow the community development wisely. I've talked to Rocco. I told him I was going to be his best buddy.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
my
Jones.
intent. So, there's a lot more.
Mr. Hurts.
You know, I'm not gonna stand up here and promise I'm gonna change Evanston and the whole world, because I can't do it alone. You know, I'm only one of, 7 people on that council, and we've got a whole team there at the city hall. But one thing that we don't utilize enough is you people. You guys have come up with some great ideas. Some of these ideas I'm hearing up here, I'm going, yeah, I like that. That's one thing I can bring to the table is I listen. And then I can go forward and build on that. And I can bring you back in and say, okay, so I don't want to misunderstand what you're trying to tell me. Tell me again, because this is what I understand you want to do. And I think we could really turn this town around as a whole community. And I watch these ads for the state and federal candidates, and you can almost write it for them, because they're all the same. We're not, we're all different, but we can all contribute a little bit to what's going on in town.
Thank you, Mr. Ms. Bell.
Thank you. The city of Evanston and all governmental entities, they should be barrier breakers, not barrier makers. We make lots of barriers, and then try to figure out how to make workarounds. One of the things that we have to stop doing in Evanston and in all of Wyoming, and probably in the entire world, is we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth. We can't continue to say and be successful. We really want our kids to come back here and in the next breath go, oh my God, we can't have that development coming here. I mean, all you have to do is watch the conversation around the new data center. You can see that. I am a huge believer that working together and engaging this population community again, we can move this place forward. There's dynamic people here with quite innovative thoughts. And I would tell you this, it is obvious, beyond obvious, that I know things need to change, and I can help do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Mr. Raskin.
I believe in civil conversations. I'll listen to all points of view. There's not one perfect way of doing anything. I believe in being a good steward of the funds provided to the community by the tax base. As the emergency manager, I have my own budget, and almost every year I turn money in. I'm not a politician, not the greatest at speaking in front of so many people. I think it's because I know a lot of you, and that makes it even harder when I know people, I guess. I love Evanston. I love its history, and I want Evanston to prosper. But it needs the help of the citizens and the council working together. As has already been said, I'll be your voice on the council, and it will be my priority. And please vote for me on August 18th.
Thank you. Mr. Slaughter.
Thank you. I believe the local government must be transparent, encourage meaningful public participation, and hold city officials accountable for their actions. Public engagement suffers, and has suffered in the past, and continued to suffer. Relying only on minimum public notice requirements limits the community's ability to respond to important issues. I think one of the things about the city is the city work sessions, one of the most important venues, is underutilized. It really does need to be utilized, but in order for you to utilize it, you're going to have to actually know what topics are going to be discussed in a meaningful time frame. Residents, in many ways, would be the best to suggest. So I would say, let's get some communication, let's encourage that meaningful public participation, and we ought to be held accountable when we're wrong as city officials. Thank you.
Mr. Gilliard.
I would have the Evanston community be a right place to learn and listen to the city councilors and the mayor what to do for this town, so we can get this community back to normal life. So vote on August 18th. Thank you for the vote for me. Thank you.
Ms. Mellis.
Thank you. I think it would be really, really important, I kind of address the graying of our population, that perhaps we can get some high schools involved with their business programs, that they could also be assisting in using their young brains and what they would like to see some of these buildings used for. I have been here almost 4 years. I would love to see the young people involved. The old people have a different set of skills. We need the youngsters in order for this town to stay vibrant. I will be donating my salary to charities. In the 4 years I've been here, I've seen a lot of people working really, really hard that almost have no time to be with their families and their kids at all. And I will be donating my salary to local charities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mellis. Mr. Berger.
Thank you.
I love Evanston. I chose to live here. My wife and I did. Grew up here. We love it. There's some beautiful qualities to our city. And I go back to our grassroots. What do we really believe in? Strong family values, a wonderful place to live, and a supportive group of politicians and city council that can work together. And I've seen it work. It's been amazing. And I look up to many people. And that's why I wanted to be here. That's why I wanted to run. Once previous mayors and council members welcomed me as a young kid and as a young boy, I was always excited to go talk in front of and present in front of the school board and city council. I loved it. I thought it was great. I love Evanston again. I love you all, and I'm just ready to serve and be a neighbor who loves to yodel across the street. Yodel.
Thank you, Mr. Berger.
I love you too.
And Mr. Will.
I love you too, Brian. So I'm going to read this right at a time. My passion for Evanston is something I just discovered. It's the story of my life. As a graduate of Evanston High School, the community shaped who I am, and my deepest motivations always been to give back to the town that's given me so much. For me, that passion comes to life in 3 distinct ways. First and foremost, protecting our community. I've dedicated my life to the safety of our residents and spent 25 years as a volunteer firefighter, 12 years as an EMT, combine that with my 29-year career as a sergeant in the county sheriff's office. As your representative, our first responders, law enforcement, city employees have the backing and resources they need, and what will always be my top priority. Number 2 is investing in our youth. I firmly believe that if we want a bright future, we need to invest in the youth. And number 3 is preserving our traditions. My passion is to use lifetime experience to help our community be safe, transparent, manage our resources, ensure that we have faced historic new growth as we preserve the tight-knit community and a way of life.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. And thank you all again for taking the time to be here with us. We greatly appreciate all you candidates doing that. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for being out here tonight. It means the world to us. We're now going to open this up to Q&A for anyone. Please feel free to come up to the mic to make your answer, and we'll make sure we direct it to the specific candidate that you're looking for. So we are opening it up to Q&A.
Somebody, one of you mentioned that enforcing the ordinance, hiring a police officer to enforce the nuisance ordinance. When I lived in Rock Springs, they had a nuisance ordinance, and it was for places like the old hotel that's torn down and they're finally starting to clean it up after it burned, and for people's property that looks so awful that many of you have mentioned. Why doesn't the city have an ordinance and an officer to enforce that? Because that would help to clean up the city, and it's one of the things that drives me nuts also.
Thank you. And before you answer that, my apologies. For time constraints, can we please all keep our answers and questions and answers short? Thank you.
City of Evanston does have a nuisance ordinance and has had since the early 2000s. And it's just tough. It's a tough enforcement. Part of the challenge is that it's always been a shared responsibility between the planning department and the police department. And quite frankly, there's a reason I think that was lost in the equation. Who took care of that for years in the police department was Bill Jeffers, and he died suddenly at the end of 2014. And then in 2016, the planner no longer worked for the city of Evanston. Between those two entities, that work was always done. And that has absolutely just fallen through the cracks. That has absolutely just fallen through the cracks. I wouldn't know why, but I can tell you there is a nuisance ordinance. There is in the urban renewal district, there is the ability to have that you can condemn property and blight, and declare blighted areas. Those things exist. It just becomes an issue of breaking the silos and those departments being able to work together again in order to have those things happen. And you're right, it hasn't happened, and that's part of the reason that we are in the state we are, with a number of properties, a number of streets, all of those kinds of things.
Thanks, Jermaine. I have Mr. Welling and Mr. Lynn as well to answer that one.
So, just to answer that, we do have a nuisance ordinance, but as of yesterday, our police department went around with our planning department and also our city attorney, and they looked at some of these blighted areas, and they're devising a plan to help clean these up. Some of them have some squatters on it, and they fall under the grandfather squatters law, not the new one where you just kick them off. So there's those, but the police department is working with the planning department. It's just takes time. And as far as the Hillcrest, that's cleaned up, and I think it looks a lot better. He's planning on trying to do some senior housing, but the people that live there stole all the copper out of the walls, and there's no electricity, there's no plumbing, so they sold the copper.
Mr. Lynn?
Like I said before, I mean, we have plenty of ordinances that are on the books that we're not enforcing at the moment. It just takes some type of leadership to make sure that those things are being done. We don't need to let them fall to the wayside anymore. As far as the Hillcrest Hotel, as far as several places around town, we just need leadership to enforce what's already on the books. The URA has a slum and blight study that encompasses a huge portion of Evanston. We just need to actually enforce and use that as it was intended when it was first indicated.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. We'll go with Mr. Du Bois and then Mr. Berger.
Again, I'll be brief. I have employees that work for me, and I've established high standards for them, so they understand exactly what their requirements and their job expectations and things of that nature. And I pay my employees well because they do those things. We make things happen. I've increased my revenues in my business over the last 5 years by 39%. Profits have gone up as well. I've got some employers in Mississippi that are happy. Again, though, if you expect change, then I ask for your vote. Because when I put my nose to the grindstone, I put my nose to the grindstone and I go after it. If you want the same thing that's been going on for 4 or 8 years or 10 years, then don't vote for me. Vote for somebody else, because that's exactly what you're going to get, in my opinion. Nothing personal, but I'm a go-getter. My intent is to make things happen. I've done a lot of research. I've got notes. But again, you know, my expectations are high. Hold people accountable in their responsibilities. Trust but verify. So I hope that I've earned some sort of a vote tonight from you. Thank you very much.
So, yeah, great question. And a lot of these ordinances and that what we're talking about are misdemeanors, and they don't, and the consequence doesn't hold a lot of teeth. And but what does is going out and talking to your neighbor and speaking to those people and getting pressure, not just from the city, but from all of us, the community. We're starting to hear it now, but it's time to stand up. I know we used to have a program called the Green Thumb Award, and we used to go around with different people. Love the Green Thumb Award. Wonderful. We had to do a couple of them, you know, and had to go around. And so, again, back to how do you lead? Through example. Through example, you know? I love being in my neighborhood. I take pride. In fact, if I'm gone a couple of weeks, I don't mow my lawn, my neighbors are gonna get on me, so I gotta get that going. So that's, you know, that's what we do. We help each other. And if we have a neighbor that can't, we get there. And if we have a neighbor that's struggling with getting their lawn, then maybe we need to be better neighborly, right? So we get out and lead by example and talk. But those Green Thumb Awards are pretty cool.
I think we're talking about nuisances, and probably the underlying problem is someone's no longer able to take care of what they've got, and it's overwhelming. And so that, I think that the city on their website should list some phone numbers for concerns, and not that you're just telling your neighbors their place looks horrible, but maybe someone from the city can sort of be intermediary and find out what's going on. We're only going to be as good as our most stressed out citizen in this town. We're not going to get better until they can be brought up, and they obviously need some help to get brought up to a standard that they are not meeting at that moment.
Thank you. Any more questions? Please feel free to come up to the microphone. Even if you line up, that's wonderful too.
Hi, my question is for the city council who are in council right now. And why do we have 6 vape shops that I can walk to instead of better businesses in there?
Mr. Lynn, start us off, so that's okay.
As far as a current city council member, I'm not necessarily, I think that's a little overkill on the vape shops. I'm not gonna disagree with you. Those properties end up being supply and demand. We've spent too many years not promoting the growth and the economic growth downtown, that those are the type of businesses that have shown up. So it's a product of what we haven't done leading up to this point. So to get that going in the right direction, we've got to change how we're operating and change what we're doing.
Because this is America. The city council does not tell people who can come in and who has to leave. That's not the way the American way is. If that person that owns that building wants to rent it to that person, that's the way it is. I don't like vape shops anymore either. I don't like the store up on the hill. But in America, you have those freedoms. And you can, if the person wants to have that shop and that they've made arrangements and it's zoned properly, we can't say who goes in there, unfortunately. That's the way it is. Sorry.
Being on the city council currently, yeah, it's a free enterprise system. And that's what America's built on. If there's 7, 10, 20 vape shops, you're not going to see me at any of them. But that's, I think as time goes by, you'll see them one by one go out. Only the strong will stay. Do I like them? No. But we cannot, as a city council, dictate whether Cabela's comes in or whether Cabela's doesn't. That rumor's been around for 20 years that we kept them out. We didn't. We cannot make, say, an Applebee's come here. It's up to them. They do their market analysis and decide whether there's clientele and business here enough to support their business model. If there is, they come in. not, they won't. You know, city council does not have that power, and you don't want us to have that power.
Thank you.
For those of you that are new, I thank you for taking that step forward. This is basically for those of you who have served in government or are currently serving in government. Several of you tonight have mentioned that it's become stagnant because you can't get along, but yet you're running again. So, not to be insulting, but are you the problem or the solution? And what I'd like to know is, going forward, how are you going to get along if you haven't been able to now?
Mr. Evans, or sorry, Mr. Burks, would you start us off?
Yeah, I don't think I'm part of the problem at all, because I can get along with just about anybody, just about. We've had some very strong personalities on there, and they have the right to express their views, but unfortunately, sometimes they were overbearing and overzealous in their views and wouldn't allow what ended up being the majority overruling. Now, we don't need to agree, but there comes a time where you just say, okay, we gotta vote this up or down. You know, we can't keep putting this off and arguing the same points, trying to convince each other. Once we've discussed it, take a vote, move on, and don't hold any animosity. You know, sometimes you're gonna win, sometimes you're gonna lose those votes. But I personally think, with my personality and having worked my whole life with people, I think I'm part of the solution.
I know it's been publicized a lot that they think the council is arguing all the time or fighting all the time. I think this council has been the most vested council that we may have had in Evanston for a long time. Because we've had a lot of opinions, we've had a lot of voices. I've seen the council, and I don't mean to offend some people, but they sit there and just, they're bobbleheads. They sit there and just go, yeah. Well, this council has actually had some voices and had some opinions and wanted to say some things. And I think it was not met in a very welcoming fashion. And I think I am part of the solution. I've been in leadership roles my entire life. And I think leadership and the communication breakdowns have started at the top. That's why I'm running for mayor.
So, I'll admit I was not the most civil person a couple times, but I'm not going to sit back and have a city council person make it a hostile work environment for our department heads. Personally attacking those people who have to be there made it a hostile work environment, and I'm not going to sit back and let them do that. That's why I raised my voice, shut them down, called a point of order to get more control of it. And so, you know, I worked in a jail setting. You know, sometimes I had to raise my voice to get things under control. And then I move on and I forget. So I don't hold any animosities towards anybody. I think there was times when there were some undermined things that happened, and 4 of them were charged with having an illegal meeting outside, not having they violated the open meeting laws. Excuse me? They were charged, am I right? They violated the open meeting laws. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Welling. I do believe that's all of them that they wanted for that question, correct? Next question.
I'll take one more stab at it. I find myself as a very easy person to get along with, and don't raise a fuss, and I hold decorum. I take pride in that, especially when you're in a house or a state house or even in the city council room. And it starts with your leadership. They don't put up with but being a person who wants to work with others and wants to really help others and be right there and work with everybody, sometimes is a threat to others who want to create an environment that's not fun to be around. And they find that as a threat. So I'm a person that will stay focused on the decorum and move on and be happy to always support and work through as a great communicator.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
So we basically talked about beautifying the city. I've heard folks talk about leading by example. We've also heard about getting private property owners to clean up their property. So when you're elected, when are you guys going to start cleaning up the city property? For example, I live in Ward 1. We can't walk on the sidewalks in our area. They're so cracked, broken, and destroyed, it's too dangerous, and I'm one of those retirees who happens to live here, and our alleyways and other places are so full of weeds, it's almost a blight in the snow. So, let me ask you, what are you going to do immediately to start leading by example when you're elected to help beautify this city that is owned, the property that is owned by the city?
Thank you.
I think you're 100% right. I think the city has to take the first step forward before we can ask property owners or citizens to clean up their property or whatever else. The city has to lead by example and has to be the first one to take the step to clean up their own property. That's very hypocritical of the city to come in and say, hey, you need to clean your property up when we're not doing our part as a city.
I would agree, and I think the answer, Mr. Atarian, is that you do it immediately and you do it systematically and systemically. It is amazing to me how much how things have just kind of changed. The city owns between they technically own the sidewalks. They own the whole right of way, and there's been conversation for years over the sidewalks. Mr. Terry and I had that conversation. But the city historically is not a very good landowner. And part of what I think is that if you can't take care of the land you own, then you need to find a way to get rid of some of the land you own and make it, turn it, and put it in the churn to create good businesses. Okay, some of that you have to own because of right-of-ways and things of that nature. But I think the answer is that you get on it right away. Historically, the city of Evanston is not a good landowner. Part of it is we have too damn much land, and that you have to really be thoughtful about how you develop land going forward, how you develop landscaping going forward, and what you really want to take on as a city, as any public entity. But I would agree that city for years, my entire time there as well, we've been remiss in taking care of those things.
Thank you, Mrs. Bell. Anyone else? Mr. Burke?
Yeah, so lead by example, that's one, but when I get in is you're gonna have to sit down and talk to those department heads and say, why can't you do this? Why can't we clean up these areas? Why can't we make this a priority? Where's our priorities? And have a list and check it down and say, let's get it done. You know, our community members are voicing out there and they want things to look great. So we sit down and we say, what other resources do you need? What do you need from us? Is it budgetary? Is it, where are we at as a city? So we ask them and continue to support them. And yeah, those are things that I want to see done. I want to see better roads, get back into, but we also know that material costs are very high and things like that. But to clean up our city sidewalks and make sure they're walkable, that's a very important issue for the people I talk to. It's one thing we're going to have to sit down and really get going, start hashing that out.
Thank you. Mr. Slaughter.
It is fascinating. When I came to Evanston, one of the things I realized that our alleys are our roadways too. And it is interesting to see that they're in channels. I think the fact is that I think there's elements of the sidewalks that need to be repaired. Our alleys need to be addressed, and I think it's a matter of, I think the staff has a solution. We just haven't put it as a priority to them. My goodness, if they can take care of our streets, they can certainly take care of the alleys, which turns out to be, in certainly historic district, our streets. And I think the fact that I think it's not really a tough one. It's a matter of giving a priority to the staff, and the staff has the ability to do so. It's just making sure that they have that priority from the council and from the mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Wilson, will you not listen?
I think we should be concentrating on thinking about tourism is a clean industry. If we need some curb cuts on the corners for tourists to navigate through what we were promoting as our downtown area, then we need some curb cuts there. Wheelchairs, baby carriages, whatever that these tourists are going to have. But it's also for our citizens. We have people that are stumbling on raised and sidewalks that are cracked. And we can fix that pretty quickly, maybe with some curb cutting and also some handicap parking. It's hard for handicapped people to get out of slanted parking spots, and so they may have to have some almost double wide areas because you don't know if the handicapped person is getting out of the driver's side or the passenger side of the vehicle, so it has to be wide enough for that. If you have that available, because a lot of the tourists that are coming in here are also a graying population as well. It will help the local citizens and help the tourists. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have the next question, please.
Okay, my question deals with, number one, I don't want the city spending more money, but I would be willing to go out and pick up things on sidewalks and clean up and do things if I knew what to do and had some direction to do so. Also, I moved here about 12 years ago. I grew up in a little railroad town called Auburn, Washington. None of you probably ever heard of it, but it used to be called a little Detroit of the West, and it was a big deal. And I came to Evanston, and it was like, oh, this is home. And I would like to see Evanston kind of become that. But in the 12 years I've lived here, I have watched businesses that I have absolutely loved just go belly up and be gone. For example, there's a little bakery that was down on Main Street, somewhere near the Strand there. I have celiac disease, so I have to have gluten-free stuff, and it's a real pain in the you know what, but they had the most delicious gluten-free cinnamon rolls I've ever had in my entire life. And delicious enough that my sister and her friends from Ogden, who also had celiac disease, had me get cinnamon rolls for them here and take to Ogden. But they went out of business. And I mean, I don't know why. I know there was a little coffee group that met there and some other things. But I think the city council probably wouldn't have to spend a whole lot of money to find out, you know, what is making it impossible for these businesses to make it. And also, you know, keep the ones we've got, like Dad's Ice Cream is amazing. And yeah, should I spend my $5 at Dad's Ice Cream for a small amount that is absolutely delicious, or should I sit at home in front of the TV with a half gallon of Tillamook? You know, I mean, some of us, we make bad decisions sometimes. But when we have friends that come to town, we go to Dad's Ice Cream, we go to, you know, other places, and I think if we did a little more of doing that and didn't rely so much on the government to do it, we might end up with a more vibrant business zone. And that's just the thought.
Thank you for your comment. Do you have anything you want to remark on that?
Appreciate that. Next question.
So a quick question. Quite a few of you brought up engaging the public more. And I can tell you that there are folks out there that feel that there is a lack of transparency. No, I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case. The problem is there's a mentality out there with elected officials and government officials, whether they're elected or not, that we still live in the 90s, right? The expectation is if somebody wants to get information or they want to find out or you want to have a conversation with you, it's going to be over a telephone call or an email. That's not the case anymore. We live in 2026. And you want to talk about like the youth, and we're talking about bringing a data center in and all this other stuff. The fact of the matter is that's not where people live anymore. People are not, or a lot of young people are not buying the newspaper, not making a slide at the newspaper. It's just not happening anymore. And I actually work in what's considered a legacy media industry, and they're seeing that, right? So for those that engaging the community more is a priority to help invest in some of these issues that are going on. What is your plan to do that? I also just want to add one more caveat to that. The data center is a really good example of that. The information was put out there enough to check the box for a lot of folks, but the distrust came when they don't feel like the elected leaders reached out enough to let them know that it was coming in, right? So it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, depending on what promises are kept. But a lot of people were turned off just by the fact that it seemed like it was a secret. Was it? Not necessarily. So I guess, reiterate my question is how do you intend to better engage with the public, your constituents, and the community? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Hewitson.
Great question, thank you very much. If you look at the city's website, that right there is a great tool that the city has to communicate with the community. But there's some major improvements that need to happen to that. It needs to be improved. It needs to be easier accessed. There's things that I was looking for myself, and I'm not a smart guy when it comes to the internet and everything else. But I'm savvy enough that I can find stuff, but I couldn't find some things I was looking for, and I had to ask somebody a question. They said, "Oh, go click here, click here, click here," and I found what I was looking for. It's got to be easier for folks that are like me with gray hair. Make it easier. My intent is to have a mayor's corner, or whatever you want to call it, once a month. Make myself available to the community. Office hours or whatever you want to call them, come in and chat with the mayor. Come in and tell me what your thoughts are. The other thing is to engage with the city council. The city council makes policy. The mayor is the superintendent of officers in the city. But you got to work together. You've got to work together. And there's been points that have been made that they're not working together. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the inner workings of the individuals that are serving us right now. But my intent is you've got to work together, like it's been said. And then you've got to be transparent with everything. The budget is one, but you've got to give the details to the budget. Right now, you look at the budget, it's not in details. I want to see the details. How much money you've been spending on coffee, whatever it might be. I think that transparency, they've talked about the budget, transparency and what's going on in the decision making behind the city meetings that happen every couple of weeks, what's going on behind closed doors. Residents need to know that. I'm a resident. I want to know that. So anyway, that's thank you very much.
Sometimes we have the city council meetings and just coming up with the mic when it's time to have the citizens voice their opinions. you don't get the ideas and the input that you really need to solve any problems. What we need to do is have some focus groups and deal with specific problems that, you know, let's say sidewalks. Get a half a dozen people that's got problems. What are we gonna do about the sidewalks, you know? Maybe when we come to the nuisance stuff, we put one person in charge of it and listen to the citizens tell us what they want to see done. You know, right now, I don't think whoever's in charge of that has the time. That's down on their priority list. So what happens is by the time the lawn gets too long or the weeds get outgrown, we get a hold of them and say, hey, you gotta fix this, and then it snows, takes care of that problem for another year. But I think focus groups is the way we need to kind of get to it, whether it's sit down with the mayor. I know right now, currently, there's a lot of people that meet one-on-one with the current mayor, but maybe focus groups are the way we should be doing this.
Mr. Lind?
I think it comes down to the ability to communicate from the city out to the citizens. First of all, the website, I agree with John, that needs to be fixed, and whatever the level that we need to do that at, whether it's one person managing it, everything I've heard is nobody wants to manage that. So if that's someone new that we hire or a company that we hire, but a website needs to be more informational, and we need to utilize it more. Second thing is our work sessions. If you look at a work session at different cities, a lot of times there's a roundtable discussion. So you look at the agenda for Casper, when they have a work session, it's not considered a special meeting, it's considered a regular meeting. So you have the opportunity to have roundtable discussions with your city council, with your mayor, if people want to come in and have discussions. So if we consider that work session as a regular meeting of the city council, that opens it up to the community to bring in some roundtable discussions so that we can talk, we can discuss, bring ideas together. Right now, it's so structured and considered a special meeting that we only talk about the agenda, we have to move on. That can be a regular meeting of the city council, not one where you make decisions and vote and make motions. That's for our regular city council meeting. We're to make that work session a regular meeting and have roundtable discussions. Make it more inviting for the public to come in and say, hey, I want to talk about this. That should be our avenue twice a month. And I also brought it up 2 years ago. I said, on that agenda, we need a mayor's update. Right now, we have the mayor that communicates with department heads in a staff meeting. And then we go ahead and have a work session. That level of communication that goes from the staff meeting over to the council has never happened in the 4 years I've been on the council. So if you're able to have a mayor's update on that work session so that the mayor can say, hey, I was just at the staff meeting, this is what we're doing, this is what's going on, here's the highlights, do you guys have any questions? That needs to change. That level of communication will go from staff to mayor to council, but also allow the general public to ask some questions. So I think that website and our work sessions, I think, need to change and be more informational in that regard.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. I think kind of the loop I get stuck in is that there's so much information out there you can't find it anymore because there's just not a solid a solid link between two lines. I think that there needs to be a real effort to obviously based on what people are telling us tonight, that there needs to be a real effort to find a way to communicate regularly and effectively with the people within the city of Evanston. I think that has to happen in a number of ways, and I think that in the past most entities try to force that in one way. I agree that there's a face-to-face piece that really is very effective because you can't kind of BS your way out of that. They can see you. You can't be a troll in the room. I also think, though, that there's very much a technological piece that needs to come into play, whether it's through a blog, through a website. And I would offer too that the website really needs some additional help. I would also offer that we probably to the state and the city of Evanston, just because of the state of communication as a whole, we probably need to look at having somebody be a communications person that disperses things within the city once they get it, they know where it goes, and takes the stuff from the city and disperses it back out. And find a very effective way to do that. So anyway, those would be my thoughts on the things that you were talking about, Jared. I appreciate the question.
To save time, let's start with our second question, our next question. I believe it was Jesse.
Thank you all for being here. I'm a leader of a nonprofit, and you all talked about communication with citizens. And I work with people who are perhaps intimidated by leaders, such as yourself. I've been in the nonprofit route for nearly my whole adult life, and in that time, there's only been 2 elected officials that have walked into my nonprofit and asked questions. What's going on? How can we help? So, you all talk about wanting to be there for us. So, how will you be more transparent and supportive of the nonprofits that are in this community?
Let's start with one of you two real quick, and then to Mr. Dukes.
Well, I do know of many nonprofits that I've worked with. In fact, one of hers is one of them. I also, with my current job, I work with a lot of different nonprofits, whether it's grant help or working with anything like that. And I will continue to do that whether I'm an elected official or not, because that's just a good neighborhood to do.
You know, I'm the president of the nonprofit, Railroad Restoration, and you know, we were into developing a strategy to make sure that we are doing our accounting and our budgeting correctly, because we were looking for perhaps city donations, state donations, or federal donations. And one of the things that I found that was extremely important in making sure that our accounting is going to be reasonable, but also too that it can be audited properly, is that we invited one of the council people at our meeting. And one of the things that he was able to share, it was Councilman Lind, he was able to share was one of the requirements, one of the things that the city sees and needs to see in that. So I think it's a two-way street. The council needs to look and recognize what are the, because the volunteers and nonprofits are extremely important in a small town. But also too is that nonprofit needs to ask that council, those council members, to actually be involved with them and ask them to come in. And I would understand that probably a nonprofit would not find anyone unless you also ask to be involved, ask them involved. And I swear we found that to be engaging and actually a very positive outcome when Councilman Lind provided his expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Dukes.
Thank you. I've been running the business there in town for 8 years. Never had a city person come in and say, welcome our business. Not in 8 years. Now the chamber has. They did. We did a red ribbon cutting ceremony. Done that, and I appreciate that. Nobody from the city came in, so I hear what you're saying. My intent is new businesses that come in, the mayor goes and says, thank you. Thank you for being here. And then take a picture with them and put it on the city website. Bring in and welcome businesses that come in here. It's a multi-million-dollar business I'm running down there. You know, it would have been nice if the city would have come down and just spent a couple more $1 million renovating the facility. New lighting, new skin on the outside, a new bay so we can, with a pit. Nobody from the city came down and said hello. We use a lot of local businesses in my business. I buy a lot of stuff from local businesses. So it'd been nice if the city would have come down and said hello. It's too late. So my intent is to welcome those folks that come in, spend the money to start a new business. I'm gonna go shake their hand and say hello and take a picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Du Bois. Mr. Irwin?
I've been a board member on the Evanston Youth Club for, honestly, I don't know how long now. It is a nonprofit, I think, maybe biased, but one of the best nonprofits we have in town. The city works really well with the youth club. We've got restoration going on the 4420. The city works really well with nonprofits when they have their ducks in a row. So if you are a nonprofit in town, I definitely think the city is more than willing to be a partner in what you're doing. We just need the level of communication, but you also need to be a nonprofit that kind of has your ducks in a row as far as your meetings, as far as your finances, as far as your 501c3 setup. All of that, if you have that all set up, I think about Arts Inc., the city works really well with them. There's a ton of nonprofits that the city works really well with. So it's not that we don't. If you are a nonprofit in town and you want to get some help from the city or get involved with the city or in whatever aspect that is, please reach out to a council member, mayor, whoever. The city does work really well with nonprofits. That's just what it's doing.
Thank you. Did he get it? Perfect.
First of all, I'd like to echo what John Du Bois said. My daughter and I had a business here in Evanston for 6 years, and I can name maybe one, maybe two city council people ever step foot in our business. The mayor, never. We never got a welcome. We never got a hope you do well. Never bought any coffee or books. We had a bookstore, coffee shop, antique store, where Pete's coffee shop is at right now, called Serendipity. And we never ever felt like we got any support from the city council. So I echo that. The other thing I want to say is, what would you do? What would you do as mayor and city council members to improve the microphone and the sound in the city hall chamber? And I'm not the only one who complains. People in the audience have complained over and over and over. You cannot hear. They have microphones. Guess what? The microphones are here. Guess where they sit? You have to eat a microphone. I'm sorry. And it's not just because I have a hearing loss. I have hearing aids, but it's people with full hearing that have complained also. The other complaint I have, and I want to know what you'll do about it, I think the work sessions should be taped as well as the regular meetings, and the tape should be available immediately. It should be live. I have to go home and either write the story about the city council that night or get up at 6 in the morning and write it to meet my deadline so that it's in that week's paper. Sometimes it's not in the paper, but that's not my fault. I write it, and sometimes it's because there's no space. So I want to know what you're going to do about that, and that tape should be live. People should be able to sit at home and watch city council, and maybe even be able to type in questions at the end during public participation on the website, which could help improve the website that you've all talked about. So anyway, so people can hear.
Okay, and Dave, you're 100% right on the hearing. I got hearing loss myself, and I can sit up on that stand, and sometimes I can't hear, Mr. Sellers talk, and he's just a couple of seats down, and that's not his fault. That's our microphones. Anyway, we put it in the budget for this year, so we will be, knock on wood, that is in the budget to upgrade that whole sound system and everything. So the second question, I'm gonna let somebody else answer it.
The next question was video in the work sessions. Is that the next question? I'm not against it at all. I It doesn't bother me a bit. As far as transparency goes, it doesn't bother me to video them. It does take some resources. I mean, to live stream and stuff. I know Preston works his butt off to try and get that stuff. If he's gone, you know, Trudy's kind of our backup. But as far as video on the work sessions, that's not a problem with me. It's just going to take the resources to get it done. If we have the resources, it doesn't bother me a bit, the video.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I was going to go with Mr. Joy, I was going to go with Mr. Welling, and then I'll go right to you.
I bought books down there, a lot of them.
You may be one of those.
Okay, thank you. But I was in there a lot buying books for our inmates.
Mike Sellers was the other.
So they could read and do something productive. But I agree with the sound system, it's horrible. We did budget for it this year. I'm not opposed to videotaping our work sessions, but sure be nice to have people there live in our meetings, so we can see their faces. We maybe have 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4 people that show up. Unless they're on the agenda, then they show up. But I would like to see people's faces. But yeah, if we need to videotape, that doesn't bother me at all. Oh, you're up. Your time up.
No.
We're going to go to Ms. Keller.
Nobody reading
And I'll
the
go right to
paper.
you.
I want to tell you that we just heard today that our purchasing of the paper and subscriptions has gone up over 200% in the last year. Thank you.
With regard to the work session, filming those and live feeding them, or however you want to do it. If you want to have it in the TV format, if you want to have it in the live format. Being transparent shouldn't be an issue for people if you're sitting in the public office. You just have to learn how to live with what you said, and you have to move forward with that. It's okay if we're wrong, it's okay if we're right. And I just think that, I'm just going to tell you what, you shouldn't be in this business if you're worried about that specifically, because that's just part of the job. And it should be welcome, quite frankly.
To the point of people coming to work sessions, I think changing the time would be really helpful because they need to be able to get home, take care of their families, have dinner, or whatever. And I think we would see more people coming to city council and to work sessions if the time was not 5:30 in the afternoon.
Thank you so kindly. We have time for one more question. Joe.
Thanks, folks. 40 years ago when I moved here, this town was a blast. It was fun. It was something to do every weekend. Sometimes you had to choose what you were going to do because there's so much going on. Chili cook-offs, things like that. Yeah, chili cook-offs, fishing derbies, poker runs, all kinds of stuff. Now it's like Radiator Springs. You know, you got 2 blinking lights on Front Street, 11 o'clock at night. You know, I mean, I got old just like this place did, but, you know, I'm not saying I do all that, you know, again, but, you know, before you couldn't get in Maverick to get gas. Now you can roll right in. I heard a couple of good comments here. You know, I did win the Green Thumb Award. And talking about getting old and sometimes needing some help. Is there anything wrong with, is there any way the city could maybe do something like summer work for high school kids? Out of school, not ready to go, not ready to leave in town, where you can go around, like you said, you know, help somebody with some yard work or something. Wintertime, shovel snow. Because really, there's no one to go to. And when you're widowed and no children, You know, you're one person rolling around a big house, and there's a bunch of us on that street. And you almost got a private grandkid to come over. And I just wonder if there's anything you guys could do about something like that. You know, after school work or summer work.
I think what we need to do, maybe when we are revamping the website, is there could be a section there of needs. Who needs what? Who needs help? What? And the meetings given at the time, because here you are at this meeting. If that meeting is at a reasonable time, more people will show up and express what they need, and we can perhaps have some input then and find a group of people. Probably in the high school, would they have citizenship grades? And they have to have decent citizenship to graduate. And some of them don't have decent citizenship to graduate, but they can do some volunteer hours and earn some citizenship grades back. And I think building the website, we need those young kids in the tech programs to help put the website together, to make it really easy.
Anybody, Mr. Williams?
Community service.
So as far as fun events, the city never put them on. It was done by the chambers. The Oilfield Overthrust Group put on the chili cook-off since they went away. And there's been people trying chili cook-off and it's failed, unfortunately. But you're right, there were a lot of things to do. There's still a lot of things to do. We have a car show coming up. We have the Brew Fest. Sometimes they're stacked up. Sometimes they're, you know, how many times did you go to the rodeo this year? It was rodeo service.
Not this year.
Not this year. So look, there's things out there. We need to be better at putting them out so people know. I agree with that. When I worked at the sheriff's office, we had a deal with the senior citizens where if they needed their walks shoveled, they could call, put their name on this. We took inmates out and cleaned their walks. Then we got in trouble because the private people, we were in competition with them. And so we had to be very careful of that. But I'm not opposed to that. Part of my program, I work for Department of Workforce Services. We can do all kinds of things if they're in our program where they can be hired and we reimburse the employer for their whole wages. They used to do a summer program that way. They did away with it because of the federal funding, unfortunately. I know with Parks and Rec are quite a few kids, but they're usually high school kids, the cemetery. So there are some kids, but they're doing stuff for the Parks and Rec. They're not out in the community. But that's a good idea. I think there's some kids that could be doing community service that could be doing some of that. But then you have the federal laws where they can't be a lawnmower over a certain age, and so it's got to ruin your regulations.
In the high school, we run internship programs for my students, and we learn working skills through community service, and we do many things for the community. We provide we deliver food for the Hungry Backpack program. We do recycling to learn job skills. We have other kids going out and getting internships, and business leaders out there that are accepting these kids to do internships in our community. A lot of these programs are from our disabled teachers like myself. One thing we do is fall cleanup crew, and we go around our community and do that. My classroom does that, and we also take pride in one thing we wanted to do, and I needed to add more jobs and create more skills and teach these kids leadership and teamwork. And we clean the football field every Monday after a high school football game. And we do it in the spring after soccer events and track events. And those kids are out there cleaning that up. There's only a couple people on the activities crew. They need help, and it's a big area. And people leave a lot of messes. So we do those things, and we take pride in it. There's a lot of programs in the high schools that was doing that. But to get kids involved, I think it's great. I think it's amazing. But
One thing about getting kids involved, when we talk about vocational programs and what's going on, a lot of cities, my son works for the largest general contractor in Wyoming, and they end up going to a lot of job fairs in high schools. And right now, they don't recruit. They think going to college and recruiting a college person is that person's already gone. They're committed. They're starting early ages, 14, 15-year-olds, and getting them to come to internships at the grow house and getting them at an early age, and they're paying them 25, 30 bucks an hour. These young kids, 15, 16-year-old, and they're starting them into, and then they're talking about, let's get you the training, and let's get you the proper training, and let's pay for your education and get you going. And they're finding those kids right now, and it's getting real competitive to find those workers, really competitive.
Thank you. Mr. Lee?
Joe, I think you hit it on the head. I think this town has aged with you. I think the driving force between all these events and stuff we used to have was the young people that get involved to do it. We need to do what we can to get those young families, those young people involved, move back to Evanston, move to Evanston, involved in the town, involved in all those things. Because at the end of the day, to run a chili cook-off, it takes people. It takes young, motivated people that want to get it done. We saw a car show, thank God, you know, that we still have a Brew Fest. We still have some of these things, but they continue to age just like our town has. We've got to change the course of that and go in a different direction and realize that the young people that come in, that's the driving force behind all those type of events. But they want to be, they have to want to be here, and they have to want to be involved. So whatever we can do to brainstorm and bring that and make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here today. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you all for taking your time out of your day to be here as well. We greatly appreciate that. I'll reiterate one more time, July 25th, we have the Evanston Car Show starting at 9 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, we have the Brew Fest, and at 6 o'clock, we have